So, today we're going to talk about a barefoot saint from the hills of India, a man whose incredibly simple philosophy of love went on to shape some of the most powerful minds in modern technology. Seriously. So, how did a man with zero possessions create a legacy that still inspires millions? Let's find out. Right here, this is it. Everything you really need to know about Neem Karoli Baba's teachings is in these three simple lines. His followers called him Maharaji, and this was the philosophy he lived and breathed every single day. It's the central idea we're going to keep coming back to. So, where do you even start to become a being of pure love? Well, from Maharaji, the journey began by just leaving the normal world behind. This was his path of renunciation. You know, his spiritual calling, it came really early. He was born in a small village, and he was just never interested in the usual stuff. From the time he was a kid, he was drawn to something much deeper. And as a young man, he made a pretty radical choice. He left it all behind to become a wandering sadhu, a holy man. Just try to imagine that for a second. Traveling barefoot, with nowhere to sleep, owning absolutely nothing. His entire life was built on this unshakable faith. And it was this complete detachment from the material world that really set the stage for the incredible life that was about to unfold. All right, let's get to a story that for a lot of people is the moment the world started realizing Maharaji was someone really, really special. We're calling this one the Unstoppable Train. The scene is pretty straightforward. Maharaji is just sitting peacefully on a train, but, well, he doesn't have a ticket. To the guys in charge, he's just another person breaking the rules. So, did he argue? Did he put up a fight? Nope, not at all. When the ticket checker told him to get off at the next station, Neem Karoli Baba just calmly did it. He got down, sat under a nearby tree, and waited as the train got ready to leave without him. And this is where a simple story turns into a legend. The whistle blows, steam is pouring from the engine, but the train itself, it absolutely refused to move an inch. You can just picture it, right? The engineer is checking everything. The mechanics are totally baffled. They're revving the engine over and over, but the wheels are just stuck. For no reason anyone can figure out, the train is completely paralyzed. As all the officials are scrambling around, the passengers start whispering. Hey, they're saying, you made that holy man get off? Maybe that's the problem. With no other ideas, the desperate officials go over to Maharaji and literally beg him to come back on board. He agreed, and with a gentle smile, he took his seat. The second he was settled, the train chugged to life and pulled away from the station like nothing had ever happened. You can bet that after that day, the story of the holy man who stopped a train spread like wildfire. But here's the thing. As amazing as stories like that are, the miracles weren't really the point of his teachings. They were more like signs, pointing to something much deeper. So let's talk about the only currency he ever dealt in, the currency of love. His message was so simple. It was radical. You know, in a world that's obsessed with money and fame and power, he was teaching that the only thing that has any real value, the only thing that's truly priceless, is love. And he didn't just talk about it. He lived it every single day. His whole life was a masterclass in compassion. He set up ashrams where anybody, rich or poor, could get a hot meal. He didn't just put up with angry or greedy people. He'd meet them with love to show them a better way. To Maharaji, every single person was a reflection of God. Now, this deep but simple way of life didn't just stay in the mountains of India. In a really surprising twist, his teachings found an audience in a completely different world. He became, of all things, a guru for the West. So think about the counterculture movement of the 60s and 70s. You had this wave of young Westerners heading to India, looking for answers that they just weren't finding back home. And somehow, a whole lot of them ended up at the feet of this humble saint in a blanket. And the people he influenced, it's kind of astonishing. Ram Dass, the Harvard professor who became a huge spiritual icon, he was one of Maharaji's most devoted followers. A young Steve Jobs traveled all the way to India just to meet him. Now, he arrived just after Maharaji had passed away, but the experience completely reshaped his worldview. And get this, decades later, it was on Jobs' advice that Mark Zuckerberg made the exact same pilgrimage. So what was the big secret? What profound wisdom did he share with these future giants of tech and culture?
Well, it was the exact same thing he told everybody else. No special, complicated philosophy. It was always just this. Serve other people, focus your mind on something greater than yourself, and be happy.
So, what happens to the legacy of a man who owned nothing but gave everything he had? Well, it turns out his presence is stronger than ever.
In 1973, Neem Karoli Baba left his physical body. But for his followers, that was far from the end of the story.
His physical legacy is very much alive in the Kainshi Dham ashram. To this day, it's this vibrant spiritual center, a place that attracts millions of visitors from all over the world, all of them searching for that same sense of peace and hope he created there. And in the end, we come right back to where we started. His timeless message is exactly the same as it always was. It's a simple guide for a very complicated world, and it feels just as powerful today as it did all those years ago. So that kind of leaves us with one final thought. The stories about the miracles are amazing, but maybe, just maybe, they miss the bigger point. What if the real miracle that Neem Karoli Baba showed us was that a life dedicated to simply loving and serving others has the power to change the entire world? And what if that's a power that every single one of us has access to?